Still going on.
That was Song for Guy by Elton John.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jenny. To the right of me is Joe. Hello. To the left of me is Wayne.
Now then.
And Chrissy. Hello. Well, I actually really wanted to do a musical. Well, I'd like to point out that violin over there in the corner, I can't play it and we don't use it. I just really like it.
Any over-dramatisations are unintentional. The chic dresses, however, are not.
We do not actually have a play for you this evening. We do, however, have an incredibly chic set.
This performance is based on a questionnaire. We ask people questions about life, questions about death, and questions about escaping.
We have 7 scenes to show for you today, each which represents the cycle of life, starting from the beginning, the birth, moving through the discoveries and experiences of life, up to death, the ultimate end.
Now, Joanna is going to display these on the screen for you all to see. We have Day 1. This is the day of answers, the beginning of everything. Day 2, the day of mortality, a time when we realise that we're not all going to live forever. Day 3, the day of discovery, the experiences of life itself. Day 4, the day of crisis, a questioning of those decisions already made. Day 5, the day of exhaustion, the struggles of life. Day 6, the day of wisdom, a time for contemplation. And then finally, we will have Day 7, the day of remembrance, our own day, which is the ultimate ending.
And as well as this 7-day cycle representing the cycle of life, it also shows the process we went through in the creation of the piece that you'll see today. For example, through from the improvisation stage, to the rehearsal, and then to the performance.
However, we want to give you, our audience, the chance to choose your own individual order in order to enhance the escape from life and death. For this, Jenny has become the scribes person, Joe will become the timekeeper, and Chrissy...
Yes, Wayne?
Chrissy is just going to stand there looking chic.
Okay.
Beautiful. Okay, we have 31 minutes for you to fill, and 6 days for you to fill them with. To choose from, we have Day 1, the day of answers. This day is 11 minutes long, and the soundtrack is 3 Kilos by The Prodigy. Day 2 is our day of mortality. This day is 4 minutes long, and the soundtrack is Kids. Day 3 is our day of discovery. This day is 4 minutes long, and the soundtrack is Waltz by Mr. Waltzman. Day 4 is our day of crisis. This day is 5 minutes long, and the soundtrack is Armageddon. Day 5 is our day of exhaustion. This day is 8 minutes long, and the soundtrack is whale music. And lastly, to choose from, we have day 6, the day of wisdom. This day is 6 minutes long, and the soundtrack is My Life in the key of B minor. So just to recap, we have 31 minutes to fill, 6 days to fill them with, and you can choose any day in any order, as long as we get as close to 31 minutes as possible. Okay, let's begin. You, sir, what day would you like to see us perform for you first? He's just there, sir. The day of crisis. Jenny, that's 5 minutes. Joanna?
26 minutes remaining.
26 minutes remaining. Madam, right in front of me there, what day would you like to see us perform for you after the day of crisis? The day of mortality. That's 4 minutes. Joanna?
22 minutes.
22 minutes remaining. Let's see, you girl, just second row in, second to the seat there. What day would you like to see us perform for you after the day of crisis and the day of mortality? Sorry? The day of answers. That's 11 minutes, Joanna.
11 minutes.
11 minutes remaining. Okay, let's go up the back. You, madam, there. What day would you like to see us perform for you after the day of crisis, the day of mortality, and the day of answers? Just you there. Yes.
I'll have to
The day of discovery. That's 4 minutes, Joanna.
7 minutes.
Okay, 7 minutes remaining. Not a lot of choice. You just there, what day would you like to see us perform for you after the day of crisis, the day of mortality, the day of answers, and the day of discovery? Good choice. The day of wisdom. That's 6 minutes, Joanna.
1 minute remaining.
1 minute remaining. Chrissy.
I would just like to take this opportunity to reassure the audience the 1 minute remaining will not be wasted. Do not worry about that. We will return to the remaining minutes at the end of your desired order.
Thank you, Jenny. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Chrissy.
Ladies and gentlemen, those are your scenes. Please enjoy the show.
Preheat the oven to 180 degrees C. Grease a large, round baking tin. Sift the flour and the cocoa powder into a bowl. Pour in the sugar and the orange rind. Rub in the butter. Beat in 2 eggs until the mixture is smooth. Pour the mixture into the cake tin and level the surface. Put into the preheated oven. Turn on the TV and become surprised to find this month's soap wedding. Become fully absorbed. Become distracted by watts of burning. Serve what can be salvaged with fresh fruit and cream. This is day 4, the day of crisis. Duration 5 minutes. Soundtrack, Armageddon. Can you cue track 4, please? questionnaire. We ask people questions about life, questions about death, and questions about escaping. Fully start to issue.
Well, I'd just like to take a few moments to briefly talk about one of the first experiences of death I had. Although it wasn't the death of a person as such, it was the death of my 2 pet dogs, Eva and Tika. Now, people sometimes laugh when I tell them how much the deaths affected me, but what people fail to understand is that a trip to Asda without pedigree chum in the trolley isn't the same. And going for a walk on a Sunday afternoon without coming back smelling of manure is odd. And even sleeping in the evening is strange, because I used to go to sleep with the sound of the claws tapping on the wooden floor. It's funny the little things you miss. Anyway, this is day 2, day of mortality. Duration 4 minutes, soundtrack, kids. Can I cue track 2, please?
Russell, Liv, Winchester.
I've got one. My dad died last year.
It's just a jump to the left. With your hands on your hips. You're really easy time, but it's a velvet rush. The really country we say, let's do the top on it. Let's do the top.
She wants to be remembered in Aberystwyth. She was a friend.
She was afraid that her dreams would not be any good. Manchester.
Simon, saying goodbye to my mum, living on a mountain with my children. She wants to be
She was afraid of the monsters under the bed.
I've got one. My dad died last year.
It's just a jump to the left. Another step to the right. With your hands on your hips. You're really easy time, but it's a velvet rush. The really country we say, let's do the top on it. Let's do the top.
I've got one. I've got one. My dad died last year.
It's just a jump to the left. Another step to the right. With your hands on your hips. You're really easy time.
that day was based on our questionnaire. We asked people questions about life, questions about death, and questions about escaping.
Just a cracking one, was that, Chrissy? Where do I begin? What day is it? Do you know what this is? Can I help you? What is a mathematical equation for the theory of gravity? What is the 10th prime number? Who is the president of France? What are you thinking? How does a thought begin? Why can't we all hear thoughts? Why can dogs smell fear? What's 2 plus 2? What's next? Who am I? What's next? This is day 1, the day of answers. Duration 11 minutes. Soundtrack 3 kilos by The Prodigy. Can I cue track 1, please?
David wishes he was born with the ability to speak every language. Sophie wishes she was born with green eyes. Tom wishes he was born with superhero powers. Amy wishes she was born with the ability to interpret.
Sally wishes she was born in India.
I pray you keep him alone!
Jim wishes he was born slim.
You not hear him. You are a labour.
Daniel wishes he was born with a big nose. Jimmy wishes he was born skinny. Susie wishes she was born with curly hair.
I pray you keep him alone. Where is the master golfer? Do you not hear him? You are a labour. Keep your cabin. Did you assist the storm?
Nay, good, have patience.
I pray you keep him alone. Where is the master golfer? Do you not hear him? You are a labour. Keep your cabin. Did you assist the storm?
Nay, good.
If I had 3 wishes, I would wish for South audience, a whale saw, and delicate do something right there.
Alright, we've got Robbie, we've got the dancer, and Yuri and
wishes she was born with really blonde hair.
Katie wishes she was born with an unlimited overdraft. Cut.
Alex wishes he was born with the ability to drive sensibly. Josephine wishes she was born with the ability to tell her left from her right.
Where's the laughter? Where's the laughter? Play them in!
I pray you keep along!
Where's the master, Austin?
Do you not hear him? You mar our labour! Keep your cabins! You do assist the storm!
Jane wishes she was born without being so plain. Dave wishes he was born on Mars. Sarah wishes she was born with a better sense of humour. Darren wishes he was born with really, really long legs.
Understand the real
Terry wishes he was born with more facial hair.
of order.
Grain wishes he was born without such a giggle. Daphne wishes she was born with blonde hair, not brown.
So, we've got 3 wishes. We've got Robbie, Delta, and Robbie. Where's the master, Austin?
I think she wanted for maybe Keira Knightley, and then cut the Robbie, and let's get some Irish speakers in there as well.
Hello, my name is Jenny, and I am really,
Nadia wishes that she had been born a man. Louise wishes that she had been born with a working heart. Claire wishes that she had been born with 7 fingers. Louise wishes that she had been born with a cushion permanently attached to her. Cut!
John wishes
my name
he was born on April the 3rd at 2:06 a.m. Kathy wishes she was born in Barbados.
Cut!
John
Rethink!
wishes he was born with better eyesight. Daphne wishes she was born without being Scooby-Doo. Santa wishes he was born a werewolf. Victoria wishes she was born with the ability to see. David wishes he could play better football. Romeo wishes he didn't have such a stupid name.
Cut!
Katie wishes she was born pretty. Rethink!
Cut!
Joanna Wishing was born with a louder voice. Cut!
Ladies and gentlemen, the thing is that
Some wishes needed to limit to eyeglasses.
3 minutes and 22
cut seconds you
John wishes Liverpool John.
experience
Danny wishes
the end of the
Liverpool
world.
Cut!
Ladies and gentlemen, it's the end of the world! I pray people out! It's the end of the world! Here, you more labor!
The end of the world.
Listen up there! Rethink!
Ladies and gentlemen, I don't think understand what this means. The end of the world means cut. No more running to the shops and buying milk.
No more rethink!
No more premature ejaculations.
That day was based on our questionnaire. We asked people questions about life, questions about death, and questions about escaping.
I'm glad we got to tell them our announcement. I'm glad we got that out.
Christopher Columbus, with 3 ships and crew, sailed across the ocean in 1492. Ferdinand and Isabella, the rulers of Spain, financed his journey with hope of wealth and fame. Christopher Columbus, Admiral of the Sea, sailed west to the Indies and made an accidental discovery. This is day 3, Day of Discovery. Duration 4 minutes, soundtrack Waltz by Mr. Waltzman.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is my favourite day. I am so glad that you've chosen it. But in the beginning, it did prove to be quite problematic. We imagined a big choreographic sequence that first of all made you laugh and then made you cry. A scene that you found uncomfortable, but one that you were quite comfortable to watch. We struggled and we struggled for the idea to come. And then it all happened in the rehearsal space, and we were sat looking at this floor, and it came to me. I sat up and I said, "Chrissy, I just want to dance!" It all seemed so simple. I just wanted to dance on this beautiful wooden floor. I wanted to dance on this perfect slab of chocolate, this brilliant square of dairy milk surrounded by its sea of cream. As you can see, ladies and gentlemen, I did not get the part of the dancer. I'm not jealous, although I had imagined myself leaping across the stage, spinning and turning. Oh, come on, guys. Put some life into it. Give us a twirl. Much better. Okay, maybe I am just... Enough, Joanna. Maybe I am just a little bit jealous. Maybe I'm just longing to be there, dancing on that stage. Oh, sod it. You know what? I'm just going to join them. Okay, I'm going to take my shoes off for this because, well, it's been something I've been really wanting to do. Okay, I'm going to step into the cream. Oh, that's great. Okay, I'm going to go onto the wood. Oh, that is so nice. The varnish, it feels so cool beneath my foot. Okay, it's been something that I've wanted to do for a really long time now. I'd really like to stroke my cheek against this floor to see what that would be like. Okay, excuse me guys. Oh, this is great. It feels so hard supporting me, but yet at the same time I know it's so soft as it floats in this sea of cream. There's been something else that I've been fantasizing about doing. I'd really like to stroke my hair against the floor, just to see what that would be like as well. Okay, here goes. Oh, that's really satisfying. Can you hear that the sound it makes? It's so subtle. Can you hear it? It's like a gentle sort of swish. Oh, turn the music up! I'm gonna have to switch. Yes! Oh, I've just been waiting for this all day.
That day was based on our questionnaire. We asked people questions about life, questions about death, and questions about escaping.
Thank you so much for choosing that.
That is by far my favourite day.
Okay, there are two pieces of advice that I always remember, and I would just like to take a moment to share them with you. Number one, eat your fish, they make you brainy. Now, when I was younger, I really didn't like fish. In fact, I think I would go as far as to say that I hated it, and I wouldn't even eat fish fingers. But in recent years, I've started to eat a lot more fish, and I've really got into it. And I have to say, I've noticed a remarkable improvement with things like not knowing my left from my right, and not putting my clothes on back to front or inside out. Number two, eat your crusts, they make your hair curly. I've not really been as successful with this piece of advice. As you can see, I have the straightest, thinnest hair ever. But I just can't get into the crust thing. I find them really tiresome, particularly on my jaw. And to me, they really do taste like cardboard. But it might be really good advice. It always sticks in my mind, and I just wanted to share that with you. This is day 6, the day of wisdom. Duration 6 minutes, soundtrack my life in the key of B minor.
Can we cue track 6, please?
Oh yeah, thanks, sorry.
Bit forgetful, Jenny.
Okay, my story begins with an attempt. It was the very first time I ever asked someone the questionnaire.
My story begins with people stood in lines, pretty much as we sat right now in front of you. It's a dark night, it's really dark, and you can't really see anything around.
I was already really nervous, never mind concerned, at the rather uncomfortable nature of the questions. I scanned the room looking for my first victim. I wanted someone welcoming who I didn't feel very intimidated by. And then I caught sight of a pair of eyes looking back at me, and I just had to go over there and begin questioning him whether I was prepared or not.
My story is about shoes.
My story is about a dream.
Now, once outside, I saw my best friend, and we stood together because that's what best friends do in the presence of evil or love. And to the other side of me stood my husband carrying our 18-month-old son.
Now, I just want to clarify, I'm not a shoe fanatic. It wasn't shoes in general that I'm obsessed with, it was just one particular pair of shoes. They were the most beautiful pair of shoes I've ever seen.
The dream is about a visit, a about a message and a herb. It's about one man returning from the dead for one night only, in another man's sleeping imagination.
You can't take anything with you when you die, he said with such assurance, and looked at me in disgust. Well, immediately I felt as if I shouldn't have asked. I was cringing inside as I continued to question him about death and about his worst moment that day.
All of the Jews must move forward. No one moved forward. And I tell you, if I was a Jew, I would have moved forward.
Last summer I spent 3 weeks in Edinburgh, and in the very first week when I was there I walked past a shoe shop, as you do, and spotted the most beautiful pair of shoes I've ever seen. Now let me just take a moment to describe these shoes to you. They're about 6 inches high, with a diamante snake running from the very foot of the shoe right until the ankle strap. But the best thing about this shoe was the fact that it had a little black dot as an eye. This made the shoe.
He was asked where he had been, and the answer was Ireland. Apparently this is where everyone goes when they first die. I imagine it to be some kind of training camp, all expenses paid. A lesson in how to live after you die.
I had to resist the temptation not to follow each question with a, "Oh, I'm so sorry, you really don't have to answer that if you don't want to," because it was precisely the don't want and resistance to those subjects that I was most fascinated about. So I kept my eyes down and my voice emotionless and proceeded to dig away where I knew I was not welcome.
Now my best friend, you see, she was a Jew, and she whispered to me, "I am so afraid." And I wanted to tell her to run because it was a dark night. I reckon her chances would have been better. But all I could think of to say was be brave. And I tell you, that is the most stupid thing I have ever said in my life. Be brave for what?
However, these shoes came with a little problem. They were £70, and at the time I could barely afford to eat, let alone spend £70 on a pair of shoes that I could hardly walk in.
You will name a Jew or be considered a Jew.
He was now back living in Hull, in a place called Brantone, and this incidentally is not where he had lived before he had died. He says everything is the same. The streets are the same, the houses are the same, the shopping centre's the same, the boarded up windows are the same, the graffiti is the same. I wonder then if anything ever changes.
After the questionnaire was complete, we shared a rather uncomfortable moment in which he looked at me as if to say, "I hope you found that useful, you weirdo." And I looked at him as if to say, yes, in a weird way I had. He turned as if to leave and then stopped, put his hand in his pocket and pulled out a leaflet.
At the end of the third week, should I say, I decided to bite the bullet and spend £70 on the shoes, so I handed my credit card over and signed my name, and the shoes were now mine.
So the soldier walked up to the first man and he said, "You will name a Jew or you will be considered a Jew. Who is a Jew?" This man would not answer, so the soldier shot this man in the head.
Things on the other side must change at the same rate as it does here, in order for it to be the same for everyone when it's their turn to die. I wonder then if you can write a message to the dead in graffiti.
So the soldier went up to the second man and he said, "Who is a Jew?" And this man did answer. He answered, "Abraham. Abraham is a Jew." And they took Abraham and they put him into the synagogue with all of the other Jews.
I actually managed to wear the shoes twice until my 10-stone Newfoundland dog decided to chew them to bits.
Now it wasn't long until my friend was the only Jew left there. And I felt her hand touch mine, and the hand was saying, "Please don't say my name. You know what will happen if you say my name."
That day was based on our questionnaire. We asked people questions about life, questions about death, and questions about escaping.
That alarm gets us every time.
We have now reached the end of the desired order, and as promised, we will return for the remaining time. So for this, I'm going to ask everyone to take their introductory positions. Jenny will now go and be scribesman. Joe, will you manage time? And Wayne?
Yes, Chrissy?
Would you like to stand there looking chic?
Okay.
It's gorgeous. Okay, Joanna, how much time do we have remaining, please?
1 minute, Chrissy.
Okay, we have 1 minute remaining. For this, we're going to give you the opportunity to see one of the scenes you have already seen for the duration of 1 minute. You cannot choose a day of exhaustion, you will never get to see that scene. However, you could choose from the day of crisis, the day of mortality, the day of answers, the day of discovery, or the day of wisdom. And I am going to pick you, sir, in the second row. For a duration of 1 minute, you get to see
The last day we saw, the day of wisdom.
the one we've just seen, yeah? For the duration of 1 minute, the day of wisdom. Thank you. Thank you, Jenny. Thank you, Joe. And thank you, Wayne.
Okay, I'd just like to remind you of the advice. Number 1, eat your fish, they make you brainy. Number 2, eat your crusts, they make your hair curly. The second one hasn't worked for me, like I said before. The first one, I'd swear by it. Okay, this is day 6, the day of wisdom. Duration 1 minute, soundtrack, My Life in the key of B minor.
Can we cue track 6, please?
Sorry, I forgot again. Thank you, Wayne.
Okay, I was just saying that I felt my friend's hand touch mine, and her hand was saying, please don't say my name. I am so afraid of dying. You know what will happen when you say my name. I am so afraid of dying. I am so afraid of dying. But I, and my
So sorry,
husband
Chrissy.
is my husband, and I am so afraid of dying. I am so afraid of dying.
Life. A new way of living was what it said on this leaflet. And he invited me to a seminar that afternoon for the Christian Union. And his closing words to me were, instead of thinking about death, why don't you come along and think about life?
And then came the message. He spoke calmly, and it was warmly comforting. He said, don't worry, I'm okay.
That day was based on our questionnaire. We asked people questions about life, questions about death, and questions about escaping. Okay, we have reached the Day of Remembrance, Day 7. We were not exactly sure how we would feel at this point, but we have still prepared a video. So this is Day 7. Duration unknown, soundtrack unknown.
I would like to begin by remembering our floor. It is very important to us. We spend hours varnishing it and touching it up and making sure it is as chic as possible. And it's travelled around with us in people's cars. We've been forcing it into cars. Thank you. And we're just very proud to have travelled around with it so much.
And when it's my turn to remember, I'm going to actually cross the boundary and remember from your viewpoint, looking at our incredibly chic set and what we've witnessed together for the past 50 minutes.
I am going to remember by talking through everything that you've seen so far, from start to finish. So a verbal recap.
I'm going to remember by taking a seat on that stool over there and helping myself to some more wine and taking my shoes off because they're ridiculously uncomfortable.
Okay, as Jenny speaks through the order of the days, I'm going to try and condense it all into a space of 1 minute with the aid of our trusty timer, and I'm going to act it out for you.
So can we cue track 7, please?
Okay, the show began, and we were all over there by the bottle of wine and the cream cloth, and we were stood there drinking, and you all came in and sat down, And then we came over and introduced ourselves to you and told you of the order of the scenes you could choose. And you chose a very good order today, which I was very pleased about. The first day was the day of crisis. I'm never sure about this day first, because it's a bit of a crisis, and we just sit there. And sometimes when it's first, I worry about it, but it was okay. And then we have the day of mortality. Now this scene has been our worst scene for a really long time now, and we spent ages trying to make it a bit better. And I think we've reached a point with this scene where we don't mind it. In fact, actually, I'm glad we did it today because we've never done that yet. So yeah, I'm glad we chose that. Then after the day of mortality, you chose the day of answers. And yeah, that was fine. Although in that scene my earring broke. I don't know if anyone noticed, but it went flying and it's over there. And I've now got one. Chrissy's finished her little thing she was doing.
I succeeded.
Did you do it? Good. Yeah. So after the day of answers, we had the day of discovery. And I really enjoyed that. Thank you again for picking it. That's my favourite day.
And we didn't drop her on the lift.
No, they didn't drop me. I was so afraid they were going to drop me, but they didn't. So thank you.
We are trained dancers, as I can tell.
And then after the day of discovery, we had the day of wisdom, and we all told you our stories. We didn't get to finish them. Even though you picked it again for the day of perfection, 1 minute just wasn't quite long enough, I suppose. But it's nice that we got a little bit extra. And then here we are in the day of remembrance, remembering our show, and it's gone so quick.
Always does.
Yeah.
Set looks really good. I was just going to say that I thought that I was actually the sweatiest person in the screen, but when we were just about to do the day of discovery,
I'm going to say me.
I noticed Chrissy's face,
Well, it's me.
and he was tripping. He was absolutely tripping.
Wait.
I think it's time that Jenny handed out her chocolates.
Okay, I have this thing that we have to have real chocolates on stage. Okay, I'm going to give
Thornton's
them one.
Jenny as
Okay,
well.
I'm going to give them one.
Watch the violin, my sister will kill me.
I'm going to choose to give mine to the nice gentleman in the front row.
Truffle. That's good. Take your wine, Jenny. Anyway, this has been Escaping Chic. We did do a questionnaire, and we did ask people questions. We asked them questions about life, questions about death, and questions about escaping.